Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to one of our Hobby Memorial Library events. We have a very special treat today. We have Dr. Tammy Frew and Dr. Leanne Temple, who is going to be telling us some very important information. Basically, how these two people managed to go ahead and get their PhD, EDD, while working and having life struggles. So talk about success stories. So I'm going to go ahead and let you, Dr. Frew, take it away.
Thank you, Ms. Oser. And yeah, thank you for the opportunity to share some of the things about my life story in hopes that I can inspire others on similar journeys and, to continue to be the best version of themselves in this life. So thank you for this opportunity. I do want to just start out sharing about a quick story that from a previous coworker. I worked with her for many, many years, and she would always introduce me to everybody and describe the word ambitious. And she would always say, Tammy's so ambitious. She's the most ambitious person I knew. And I never really understood the impact of that or how that one word would one day tell a story like it would today. And so, for you see, an ambitious person is defined as an individual who has a strong desire and determination to succeed. And for many years of my life, I didn't recognize that that word would be the fuel to my success story. And so today, my plan is to share a little bit of the journey with you based off of the word ambitious, in hopes that my journey inspires you and those that are listening to be more ambitious. So the A in ambitious for me meant Army. So I was born in Tennessee. I grew up in a military family. I was no stranger to moving every few years, and I was always trying to make new friends at these locations that we moved to. Although I was always adjusting to the circumstances and things that come with a military family, I believe that these circumstances taught me all about patience and the importance of social skills. The M in ambitious for me stands for mother. I had an incredibly strong mother. She was always encouraging. She was supportive. My parents had divorced, and she became a single parent for most of my life. And she sacrificed and gave so much that, it was for us to have what we had. And I think of a time where she was working 3 jobs, and she was doing that to pay for paramedic school for me. And that's actually where my medical career began, was at paramedic school. And so because of the example I had in her and in my grandmother, I knew the kind of mother I wanted to be to my 2 boys, Zach and Noah, and now my bonus son, Tyler. So the B in ambition came from my belief in God. I am a firm believer that my faith through my trials and triumphs is what allowed me to be and persevere and make it through many of the things that I had to go through. There were times where I felt like one door was closing and found incredible comfort and peace in the ones that were opening for me. Sometimes I had to trust my faith and not lean on my own understanding of things, and that knowing God already had my life plan planned out and my path already planned out. So the I in ambition for me was invisible disease. In 2005, I was diagnosed with systemic lupus, and little did I know the full impact that that would have in every aspect of my life, physically, emotionally, mentally, but most of all, just my day-to-day living was impacted. And this would be, when I was diagnosed with lupus, the beginning of many of my health problems, such as obesity, blood clots. I had a lot of heart complications. And so for those that don't know, systemic lupus is considered an invisible disease that causes damage in many parts of the body, and the immune system attacks its own tissue. Systemic lupus is the most common and most serious type of lupus that affects all parts of the body. And medical science has not developed a cure yet for lupus, and some people do die from the disease. And so I had to face this as my new reality now. And so this required me to learn more about lupus, educate my family. And really for me, I had to energize my will to overcome all these new daily struggles that now were presented itself with this new diagnosis. And so, that was something that really affected my life. The T in ambitious stood for timing. Looking back at my educational journey, I see a perfectly timed timeline, but I didn't see it then. I see it now. In January 2001, I had my second child, Noah, and that was while I was in my last semester of my associate's degree. I graduated from Central Texas College, go Eagles, in May of 2001. And at that time, when I graduated in May of 2001, I had a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old baby. This was no easy mission, to be pregnant, having a baby while in school, but I knew others were doing it. So I knew this was not an impossible mission, that I'm not the only one pregnant in my last semester of school. So I knew it could be done. That degree, my associate's degree, opened many doors for me, but the most important door it opened for me was part-time teaching. And that had always been a passion for me. And so in 2005, shortly after my lupus diagnosis, is when I decided to move on and go work on my bachelor's degree. And I knew that the sooner I started this bachelor's degree, the sooner I would finish. And I certainly at that time, just being diagnosed with lupus, was not going to let that change the path that I wanted to be on for myself. And so the other I in ambitious for me stood for keeping my eye on the prize. And so as a mother of 2 athletic boys involved in many sports, I managed to finish up my bachelor's degree and then later my master's degree. From 2005 to 2018, my life continued. My boys were off and preparing for college, and I continued to teach here at Central Texas College. And my professional journey went from being a part-time instructor to a full-time instructor to a full-time coordinator, and then worked my way to be EMS director, and then assistant chair. And amid all those things in 2018, not only did I find myself divorcing my husband of 22 years, I also found myself selling my home. I was moving, I was renting, and this was difficult. And as difficult as it was to go through a divorce, physically, emotionally, mentally, I had to remain strong. I did have to recognize that it was a good decision for everybody involved. And even though through all of that, opportunities were still presenting themselves, and I just had to recognize that. I couldn't let all of these things that are coming up in my life direct my path. I knew God had a plan for me, and I was still on that mission. And so these opportunities is what the O in ambitious stands for me, and that was opportunities. It was through these trials and these triumphs that I recognized not to let my opportunities slip by. Shortly after settling in that rental home with my youngest son, the opportunity came up for me to be the department chair. And that was a huge decision because I recognized how much work is involved in being a department chair. And I was asking myself, is this the right time? Will this opportunity present itself again? I'm just coming out of so much in my life. Would I even be good at this at all? And it was through this leadership opportunity, the department chair opportunity, that I learned the importance of building others up and learning more about who I was as a leader, sticking to what I believed in, and I love what I do. So I'm exactly where I need to be. And so ensuring that positivity and encouraging others through the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, and so the U in ambitious stands for understanding. I had to understand who I was, what my strengths were, what my weaknesses were. I really had to just stop dwelling in the past and letting go of the past so that I could move forward into what was now going to be my future. And so I'm not sure if you've heard of Joel Osteen. He's a preacher out of Houston. He shared this story, and I thought it was so applicable for today and my presentation. And what he said was, have you ever sat in your car and realized that your windshield is bigger than your rearview mirror? And kind of left it open to, just thought. And then he said, it's because what is behind you is less significant and it doesn't matter anymore. It's in your past. And what's happening in your past is nowhere near as important as what's happening in your future. And so I would say, that really was kind of like, maybe he's right. And so I would encourage all of you that are watching or watching today, look forward. You aren't going back to those things that you've went through in the past. What's in front of you matters, and it could be the biggest opportunity that you have in life. And so just look forward, because it was that exact thought, that process that drove me to beginning my doctoral journey. And so taking on a new position at the same time as I was beginning my doctoral studies, I said to myself, what am I thinking? Do I really want to put myself through this? Because my job didn't require it, but I knew I always wanted to be a doctor. And here's my chance. Here's that opportunity. And so, but it was my doctoral journey that required me to tap into everything that I had learned in my entire life. I mean, all the way back to the A at the beginning of ambition, the time when I was, an Army brat and I was learning what it was like to do that. And so I had to tap into everything: my faith, my strength, my social skills, the leadership, perseverance, discipline, commitment, and just staying motivated. It all came together for me. And in 2023, I did complete my EDD in doctoral studies. And that was a huge milestone for me that I don't think I could have completed without the experiences that I've shared with you, my previous education and skills that built up along the way. And then another magical experience in 2023 was the opportunity to marry my best friend. And so, so that happened. He's a wonderful man. I gained a bonus son, and I get to be a part of a loving and beautiful additional family. And so now we get to the S in ambitious, and that for me is self-needs. And part of my mentality and looking back at my life has been the trials in my life just can't be considered struggles. They really just needed to be hurdles. And I just had to overcome them. I just had to get past them, just get over them, because there was something else on the other side of that. And maybe it's another hurdle, but maybe it's flat ground, but I just needed to get over that hurdle. And I've concluded that I should never stop learning. And so I encourage you, never stop learning. Focus on your wellness. That's mind, body, that's soul, and just be kind. I tell people all the time, and every time I present, I'm always just saying, hey, just be kind. Be kind to people, and they'll be kind back. And maybe they won't be. Maybe they're having a rougher day than you, but be kind. And so I leave you with this. Everything that I have set my mind to, I have completed, or I have been able to set after. Maybe there was some truth in my coworkers always describing me as ambitious and being an ambitious person. Maybe there was some truth to that. Because despite the trials and the triumphs and those things that I went to, it is about you, and it is about me, and it's about being an overcomer. And I always tell my students, they have the power to make it happen. And so do you. Those of you that are listening, you have the power to make it happen. My story, my dreams, my future are still being written. I have so much more to come. I don't know what that looks like, but I have so much more to come. And so I would encourage all of you to be ambitious. Set your mind on what you want to do for yourself and just make it happen. You have that power to do that. And so I hope this message has meant something to some of you that are listening. And I really do wish all of you the best as you move on in your future endeavors and things. So that's all I have to share today.
Thank you, Dr. Frew. I have a couple of questions.
Yeah,
I know how hard you worked because one of your study grounds was here at the library.
it was.
And were there days, because you were here consistently all the time, were there days where you told yourself, oh, I just don't feel like going to the library. I'm tired. Did you ever have any of those days?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to tell you every step I took on those days that I was tired and I maybe didn't get a good night's sleep or I wasn't feeling well. It was a struggle. It was a struggle there. And not because the facility wasn't gorgeous and ideal, it was my own inner being of I'm over this. And remember, this was not being required of me. This was what I wanted to do for myself. And I'd say to myself, why am I putting myself through this torture? But I just knew that at some point, if I just stuck with it, there is an end in sight. There was an end in sight. And it was like, if I stop now, I'll regret it. If I stop now, what if I don't get that opportunity again? And so I had to do that self-motivation that I was talking about was just the discipline and commitment to what I set my mind to. And when I first signed up to do my doctoral, I said to myself, I have to do this. I have to do this. I'm not going to let my life or anything come into my life to try and stop me to doing this. And it might be delayed, but I will not stop. I will continue. And I did it one class at a time. I just took one class at a time and worked full time while I was doing my doctoral studies. And some weeks I had to write 17-page papers and work full time and manage a house. And it was just motivation and determination to finish. So
How many years did it take you?
it took me 3 years. I took one class at a time, and that was 3 years on top of my master's degree. And so I just did it one class at a time because I knew my limits and I did not push those. I knew that one class at a time would get me there. I knew that it was a 3-year timeline. They did have an accelerated track where you could, piggyback on each class. And I knew that wasn't for me. And I knew that would set me up for just maybe more stress. So one class at a time was what I knew I could handle. So
There's one particular moment that I remember in your journey. And that was the day you came up to me and you said, I did it. And I saw pure joy. So is that the reward for all of that hard work?
it is, but I tell you, it was as if somebody had just taken this huge responsibility of weight of just daily writing and daily researching and just kind of threw it off. And I just felt so free in that moment. There were so many things I was thinking, like, man, I could go home today and I get to watch TV. I get to go out this weekend to the fair that's going on and I don't have to be thinking about the paper. It was like my spirit had been freed from that commitment. And it wasn't a negative thing. It was a commitment thing. It was, I had committed myself to doing this. And was it difficult? Yes. And is everything in life going to be easy? No. And are some things going to push you to your absolute limits? Yes. And this was one for me. It did push me to, but I'll tell you, Miss Oser, is that I knew God would not give me more than what I could handle. And so I know that because this opportunity was there and presented itself, I knew that somebody out there knew I could do it. And so I just embraced it, and every day just had to embrace it and say, this is going to happen.
Well, we at CTC, we're extremely proud of you, and we're just grateful for all your hard work, because you bring all that expertise to our allied health department, and we just are thrilled to have you. You know that all the
Thank
time.
you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And it really has been a pleasure to share. And, I'm here at CTC working in the Department of Health Sciences. And so if anybody listening wants to, talk more about it, I'm happy to sit down with them and share even more details about, some of the things I've faced, and certainly give advice as to how they move on from their associate's degree to their bachelor's, their master's, and then their doctoral. It is possible. It won't happen overnight, so you have to be patient. But if you want it, you'll be able to do it, because they have the power. You have the power to make it happen. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we'll have Dr. Leanne Temple's story as well. I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today, inspire us today, give us ambitions
I hope
today. Thank you. And I just want to let everybody know we have a couple of things happening. On October 17th, we're going to have an event about your financial ambitions.
so.
Make sure you watch that at noon. Then we have, in honor of Native American Heritage Month, we're going to have Cynthia Goodwin demonstrate an authentic Native American dish. That'll be on November 1st.
Ooh.
And we also, on November 8th, have our favorite military journalist telling us another military history story. And that will be on November 8th. So we hope you guys will join us then. Thank you again. And you guys have an awesome day. And thank you, Dr. Frew. I love saying doctor.
I'm still not used to it, but that's okay. I'm just so thankful for the opportunity.
All righty. Well, you guys have an awesome day. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.